thought we were going to see an extension of their first fight, meaning rounds 6 through 10, if you will. However, it was not the case. The first fight, a little slow in rounds 1, 2, and 3. Boy, did it heat up in 4 and 5. It's almost like they rewound the tape. They felt each other out in the first 3 rounds. Tyrone Woodley really got going in the 5th round. We're all kind of on bended knee here, waiting to hear for the result. It's possible. Gilbert told me this in the green room. It's possible by his math that it's a draw, and I happen to think I might agree with him.
Oh, well, you both would be wrong because the announcement's just been made. And Tyrone Woodley has been announced as the winner. And I thought when I was watching it, if one guy is aggressive in the 5th round and he nearly knocked Wonderboy out, that would be the decision. And Gilbert, ultimately, I think that's what it was.
I agree. At the end of the day, he won the fight no matter what the scorecards were because he almost finished them. But I had it 3-1, 2-2 going into that 5th round right there, and Woodley needed to push forward. I was very disappointed that he didn't do this out the gate. Why didn't you push forward out the gate? You can hit him. If you hit him, you can put him down. And he did. He felt the little, he was desperate towards the 5th round, knew he had to make something happen. And he pushed forward, and he landed the big right hand with less than a minute to go and almost finished Wonderboy Thompson. A great finish for the champ.
I can tell you the scores, guys, from the 3 judges, 48-47, 47-47, 48-47 for Woodley. So when you look at it, and Tyrone Woodley throughout this entire camp was complaining about this, complaining about that. For the UFC, I think having Wonderboy win would be better from a marketing standpoint. Is this a good result for the UFC?
Hey, listen, it could be. You know, there was a real poor me fighter in boxing by the name of Bernard Hopkins. And over time, Bernard drew. He drew by his complaining. His complaining drew headlines. And to our champion Woodley's credit, Coach just mentioned him on SportsCenter.
Well, that's very true.
And I have to agree. I think Woodley is doing a great job of promoting himself. He's had a couple appearances in sports, and he's very well spoken. Yeah, he's not your normal trash talker, but he shows his intelligence and a high IQ in the fight game, and I love the way he talks, to be honest.
Coach, can I criticize Woodley really fast? Listen,
please.
He had this major feeling out process where he was warming up. He kept being able to touch Wonderboy right in the chest, and he was hitting his chest. Wonderboy's chest was even getting discolored. He wasn't finding his head. He wasn't finding his legs because of the movement. But isn't it better to keep hitting the chest than to hit nothing at all? It was so close, and you even said it yourself when you read those scorecards. One of the judges had it like Gilbert did, 47-47. We were this close to another draw.
All right, we got about 45 seconds here. So we've seen it twice. Do you think because it was so close again, although not as entertaining, that we're going to see this a 3rd time?
No, I think it's time to move on. Woodley did. He dodged the bullet here, and he stepped up in the 5th round, and it wasn't a draw. It was a finish, and he is the champion. I could see if it went the other way, maybe give the champ another chance, but I think it's time for Woodley to move on and Wonderboy to move on as well.
What's the future for Wonderboy?
I think we just need a little bit more parity. There's a lot of guys in that division right now, including the former champion Robbie Lawler. Let's bring in some new blood.
Well, I tell you what, George St. Pierre is coming back. We know that. He's going to fight at 185 at first. He may come back at 170. It'll be interesting to see what is going on moving forward in the welterweight division. But tonight, I think a little disappointing for all of us, right? All right. Gilbert Melendez, Chael Sonnen, UFC 209 in the books. Tyrone Woodley is still your welterweight champ. Fresh Hour Sports Center, Max and the Coach, top of the. Is the UFC right now in trouble with weight issues and guys not making weight and not making the fights?
Hey, it's not the UFC's fault. It's not the commission's fault. These guys are having contracts. They're having plenty of notice. And why guys keep on missing weight, Coach? It's unprofessional. It should not be happening. In boxing, we don't have this problem. In wrestling, we don't have this problem. In other organizations of MMA, we don't have the same epidemic that the UFC is seeing. Listen, this cost Khabib Nurmagomedov long-term effects. Don't forget, I'll tell you the politics here. Dana White comes back from Russia, announces he has a new Russian TV deal. 48 hours later, he announces the winner of Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Tony Ferguson will be taking on Conor McGregor. You do not have to put on your Colombo rain jacket to realize Conor McGregor versus the favorite Khabib Nurmagomedov was going to happen on the debut of the Russian TV deal. It is likely gone, and I believe it goes to Nate Diaz.
And I agree with Chael 100%, but in the fighter's defense, they're doing the new weigh-ins in the morning. So this is maybe an adjustment for the fighters. I thought it'd be a perk for the fighters, but it may be a new adjustment, as well as the amount of weight classes we have versus boxing. We have 15 pounds between 55s and 70s. So Khabib had a choice. Do I go up to 170s or I make the strong cut to 55s? Ideally, a perfect weight class for him, Nate Diaz, would be 162 pounds. But they don't have that option. So in their defense, but we are professionals. We have 8 weeks to prepare for a fight and 8 weeks to prepare to weigh in on the scale. And those are only 2 jobs: show up, make weight, and show up and fight.
Both guys lost a minimum $500,000 on Saturday night. Chael, Gilbert, thank you guys very much.
Pleasure, Coach.
Stephen, thank you for your time. Obviously, this isn't your favorite thing to do, I'm sure. Talk to me about, let's go for the very end of the fight. When the judges were, or when Bruce Buffer was announcing the judges' scores, what was going through your mind?
I thought I pulled the fight out. I thought I had it in my mind. I had won 3 of the 5 rounds, and but it goes to show you can't leave it in the judge's eyes. So I was very cautious out there. I knew he was looking for the takedown. I could hear his corner man say, "Hey, look for the takedown. Throw the right hand. Look for the takedown." So I was very cautious, being aware of that. Just try to pick him apart, but it wasn't enough.
You know, I spoke with your dad and I spoke with you yesterday, and you both seemed pretty adamant that you felt like you had the correct game plan after studying the tape from that first fight at UFC 205. Were you able to implement exactly what you wanted to do inside the octagon?
Yeah, I mean, I could have thrown a little bit more, but when you're out there, of course, going in, you're like, hey, I'm going to go out there, be a little bit more aggressive. But when you're out there and you're standing in front of somebody like Tyrone, who's very strong in the clinch positions, got great takedowns and a big right hand, you have to be cautious when you're out there. So I just used my movement and just try to pick them apart and play the game.
Mentally, how did you feel out there?
I felt fine. I felt great. Going into the 4th round, I remember going, hey, man, I got this fight. Or, excuse me, 5th round. He ended up hitting me with the right hand, went down, popped right back up, kept distance, and got the fight back up to my feet. And after that, I was fine.
Do you feel like the way you approached the fight actually threw him off?
I think it did a little bit. You know, switching sides. My last fight, I kept my left side forward the entire time. I switched sides, kept my right side. Tried to mix it up, going to the head of the body, occasionally throwing some head kicks, working that side kick, trying to keep him at bay. But I think it did. I think he expected me to come out with my left side forward. When I came out right side, I think it threw him off a little bit.
Obviously, you're such a class act for answering these questions for us, and I know that you'll want to get right back in there, especially after experiencing a loss. So is there a point where you call up the UFC and say, hey, I want to get on this card, or I want to fight this guy, or do you just want to take some time off?
You know what? We'll see. You know, I took a shot that last fight, and 2 big ones the fight before last. Got to go back and work on my game planning and, you know, come back stronger from this. So, yeah, I mean, wherever the UFC wants, I'll get back with my coaches, and we'll see what's next.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Stephen. We appreciate it. Thank you, Karen. Dana, let's talk about the main event. How did you score it?
I had it 3-2.
For?
Wonder Boy.
Were you surprised that it took so long to compile those scores? Were you thinking it might possibly be a draw?
And I didn't think it was going to be a draw. I mean, from the fight that I watched, you know, I had it 3-2 Wonder Boy, and one of the judges scored the last round 10-8, which is insane.
Where do both of these fighters go from here? Where does Tyrone Woodley go as the champion, and where does Wonder Boy go?
Tyrone's the champ, man. He won tonight. You know, listen, me, the fans, everybody else, we're not judges. The judges called him the winner tonight, so he's the winner. And, you know, we'll see where we go from here, you know. Listen, this fight didn't help his case in any way, shape, or form. But I don't know. We'll see what happens from here.
There's a lot going on at welterweight, though. It seems like there's quite a few options. Damian Maia is already, I know, wanting that shot. Is there anyone that stands out as the next contender?
I don't know. Right now, I don't know. I obviously can't answer that tonight. But, yeah, we'll figure something out.
All right, let's talk about this co-main event tonight. David Tamer versus Lando Venata. Really entertaining fight. David pulled out the victory there. Was that what you were expecting? Because Lando had a lot of hype. He's had these impressive performances before in the octagon.
We absolutely expected that. That's why we moved that up to the co-main event. I knew that was going to be a great fight. Obviously didn't know who was going to win it, but we knew it was going to be good.
And then you had Alistair Overeem defeating Mark Hunt in incredible fashion. We just learned from you at the press conference that he actually had some food poisoning.
Yeah, so he's down. He's actually, first of all, he didn't even mention it in his interview with Rogan, and he was at the press conference. He didn't say a word about it either. He was incredibly ill. I didn't think the fight was going to happen. He went to the hospital and was there for a while. Went back to his room and had to go back to the hospital again. Today, before the fight, he was at the hospital till 2 o'clock. They were thinking that he was going to actually be late getting to the arena today. He wanted to fight, and you know, I have so much respect for him for staying in that fight. He not only did he pull that off, you know, to actually be able to get into the octagon and compete, but he knocks out Mark Hunt, feeling as sick as he was.
Yeah, man, that certainly paid off. Will be interesting to see what's in his future as he's ranked number 3 at heavyweight. But before we let you go, a lot of people have been wondering what the future for Tony Ferguson and Khabib Nurmagomedov is. Are they going to be booked together again, or is this something where they're going to each go on a separate path?
I don't know. I don't know what to do. We got to see how Khabib, rebounds from this thing. He just had a weight cut in New York, and then he cut weight again here, and it's going to take him a while to heal from this weight cut. So I honestly don't know. We'll see what happens.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, boss. We appreciate it. Thanks. Karen, back to you.